welcome to the Dissident Daughters podcast. This is Ada, and I am so excited for today. I have a really special guest, somebody I just freaking love. If you have listened to my podcast at all, you've probably heard me mention her. I've mentioned you a lot in, I don't know, at least half my episodes are about you, or I mention you. So we have Amy Logan here today.
I'm just sitting here thinking, I wish we were neighbors.
I know. Could we live next door?
I know. I would love that.
Oh my gosh. So if you don't know Amy Logan, I don't know, you're living under a rock, but she's the creator and the podcast Exmormonology.
Yes.
She's a life coach. She's a TikTok influencer.
I'm so not. Thank you, though.
I love her so much. She is doing incredible work in the ex-mormon community. I'll just say a little background of how I came to meet you was my sister-in-law. I don't know how she found you, but she found you first. And then she told me, you got to check out this Exmormonology podcast. And I listened, and from the very first episode, I was hooked. And I think it just hit me at the right moment when I was needing your content so much, because you were coming from a place of healing and like not judging like the process of the whole faith crisis, but like it felt different, right? I wasn't getting that content from anybody else. I had been going through about a year of deconstruction and maybe only about 6 months of like, actually I'm out of the church. And I was still in the angry phase. I was still, which I still am sometimes. I go back there.
Me too.
But like, there was so much of me kind of floundering, going like, what do I do now? Where do I go now? And like, not knowing how to feel. I was judging myself terribly about how I was doing this, if I was leaving right or not, Anyways, listening to your podcast was just an absolute lifeline. You have so much wisdom. You are like the OG ex-Mormon in my eyes. I know there's other OGs, but you've been doing this a very long time. So
yeah.
I would love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to this space and what you're doing, because I freaking love it.
Okay, well, I'm Amy Logan, host of Exmormonology and life coach. And yeah, yes. I mean, I had a faith crisis. And I think if you know what a faith crisis is, that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of is all inclusive. And mine started back, and I won't go into all the details, because I think it's like I've said before, like we sing the same song. Like if you've lived through a faith crisis, you know the whole story. Yes.
Yeah.
Born and raised in the church, did all the things, went to BYU, got married. I mean, these are super, super cliff notes. And so I'm 52. So my faith crisis started in 2006 when I was 36-ish. And just kind of going back to what you said, like social media wasn't what it is today.
Oh, yeah.
So it was can I swear?
Yes, please swear.
Okay. I swear, but I don't know if, it was so fucking scary.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it matters whether social media is there or not. It's still so scary to go through what you're going to go through.
Yes, but social media was huge for me because I found community immediately. It wasn't that hard to find support groups, to find other people who were talking about the same issues. In 2006, that did not exist.
No, it didn't. And I lived in the closet for a really long time, like years, because I just didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
And I live in Utah, and of course I was living in Utah at that point too. And so my family was all in California. I was the only my family member. My husband at the time, his whole family lived here, and they were all Mormon, and they all lived within 30 minutes of each other. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the apostate. Like, I'm the one, and I just was so scared to tell anybody. So
yeah,
I think now not that it's a speed up maybe it's easier. I don't know. But it's like, because there's community, I think you do go through some of those initial stages maybe quicker than I did.
I think so.
Years and years there.
I do think it's a speed up. And at least in my experience, it does speed it up, because when you're able to talk about it, just talking about it is like therapy, and getting it all, just vomiting it out of your brain to anyone, and especially strangers. For some reason, like online, you feel more free to talk about stuff, and you hear other people's stories, and I don't know, that sped up the process a lot for me though.
Yeah. Well, like, think about it. So I had a YouTube channel that I started in, I think it was 2012.
Okay.
And so that's 6 years. It took me 6 years to feel like, okay, I was the one crying in my closet or in my bedroom or whatever at 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
Where I didn't find anyone on YouTube. I didn't see anyone that looked like me.
Really?
A woman who was going through this. No one. Back then, I mean, and there was one group, it was an anonymous online group, that it was called New Order Mormon, which I even hated the name. I'm like, oh my gosh, this sounds like a cult now. Like, I was so
oh my God,
sensitive.
Yes.
But it wasn't, but it was a place where you could just post anonymously. My name was Wondering Why.
Oh.
Because I was like, why is this happening? You know?
Yeah.
So I could have a few questions answered, but it was my obsession, because it was just these little, what's it called? Avatars. You know, people would have an avatar. Mine was Jennifer Aniston, of course.
Because I love her.
Way back. I know.
She's the best.
Anyway, it was so hard. So when I started my YouTube channel, I called it Soul Searching Girl.
Okay.
Because I feel like there's so much soul searching that you have to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because your whole life's flipped upside down.
Totally.
And I did go a little wild. I did. You know, I didn't know, I didn't know what to do. And when everything is crumbling around you and you feel like you're the crazy one, you're like, well, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, those feelings of like, well, if it's not true, nothing really matters anymore. That was part of my thinking at the time.
Yeah.
And that, I just refer to that phase of my life, probably from 2006 to 2009, just kind of my free-falling years.
Free fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Because nobody's there to catch you. Oh.
Yeah, I had one friend, and we would talk occasionally, not a lot. She didn't live in, near me. But that was kind of it. Because, you know how you put out the testers? Like, I try to talk to my sister.
Yep.
And my mom was good. Like, I was one of the lucky ones. Like, no one disowned me.
That's
right?
Good.
Like, my family was like, okay, we love you anyway. Which is like a little dismissive. But, that's the way it goes. It was just so scary, so scary. So when I started that, I'm like, I need to put a face to this. I need people like me to know. Because there were men in that world.
Yes, a few.
Posting and doing podcasts and stuff. But I'm like, but I need someone that's talking to me. And I didn't find it. So I'm like, I can be that for someone else.
Ooh, I love that so much. I mean, that says a lot about you. I love you. Are your YouTube videos still up?
They are still there. I don't really actively put up videos.
But you've got your old content there?
Yeah, it's all there. And from 2012, the minute I started posting till, I don't know, it was several years. I mean, I emailed back and forth with hundreds of people back then.
Really?
And just people in the same boat. And so I wasn't officially a life coach at the time, but like I was life coaching people. I mean, it was just like, I know where you are. I know where you're going. I know this is going to suck for a long time.
Yeah.
And this is what helped me.
So you immediately felt like, okay, this is needed in the world. Like there is clearly a need, because people are reaching out to you saying, help me. I'm in that space. Oh.
Yeah. And it's only gotten bigger.
Oh yeah.
And things are happening so quickly. I mean, as far as like more things are coming out, it's just like the dominoes have started.
Yeah.
And I've been saying that for years when I started going through this. And then you'd see a few people waking up here and there. But now it's like so many people, which is exciting.
Yes.
But it's also scary, because I know it's like, as each one of us wake up, it's like being unplugged from the matrix. And you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Totally. Yeah. So that's actually, I'm curious about that. I think there was a conversation on Reddit yesterday about this, is is the church really crashing and burning like we think it is, or are we in a bubble? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and so since you've been here for so much longer, do you genuinely see like an increase, a snowballing of this ex-Mormon stuff?
I don't think it's as big as probably we would think it should be.
Yeah.
But I think for sure. I mean, the fact the signs that tell me that are the things that they're talking about in General Conference, right? Like they're addressing it in their way that they do.
Yeah, the people who are leaving, they're talking about
and just
us.
the numbers of people in the Exmo groups, from Reddit all the way to Facebook to TikTok to all the places.
I think I heard some statistic that there's like 5,000 new people on ex-Mormon Reddit every month.
Really?
Something like that. We're up to like 275,000.
And the first time I was even aware of Reddit, it was under 100,000. I still don't frequent Reddit. I get very my brain can't handle Reddit. Not because of the content, but because of like visually, I'm like, how does this work? I don't know. And I get frustrated and I turn off because it's like all these threads.
Yeah, it's confusing
But everything's growing as far as members leaving, and I think like Jim and I talk about this all the time. So. You know Jim. Jim is my partner, and we do a little side thing on my Exmormonology podcast called Irreverent.
I love it.
We are overdue.
So much.
We're overdue for another one, but we talk about the church all the time.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
About like the number of people leaving.
The number of people. Oh my gosh, it totally left my brain.
Oh,
it will come back.
It will come back.
Okay, no, the internet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, since the internet has come out, like, the church can't control the information anymore.
Totally.
And so here we are. It's like we can find whatever we want. It's not like back in the day where we only had Encyclopedia Britannicas to get our information from.
Yeah. Where did you even get your information in 2006? Did you get it from the internet? Or... like, when you started asking questions, where were you going to look for answers?
Yeah, so I had doubts for years. So when I say I was slow to this, I didn't trust myself to follow.
Of course not, because you were a good Mormon. Right. You're not supposed to trust yourself.
No, and don't read any material that's not supported by the church. So polygamy was always my first issue. Yeah. That I was like, I don't feel right about this. And my husband would always say, well, it will be a choice. We don't have to do it if we don't want in the next life. And in my head now I'm thinking, but that means it's real.
Oof, yeah.
Like if it's a choice. Anyway, so he knew I was having doubts. He actually bought me the book Rough Stone Rolling by Richard Bush.
Oh.
And I think that came out in 2005. So now it's 2006. And I consumed it. Like, I could not get enough of it. And you know how, if you've read that book, it's still very insulated. I mean,
it's terrible.
Takes you to the edge, but not over.
Yes.
But that's fine. I let by the time I finished that book, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's hard to read because it is a history book, basically. Yeah. But I'm like, how did I not know this?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know, for example, that Joseph Smith had multiple wives and all of that. Yeah. Yeah. I just didn't know anything. So that was kind of my launch pad. Okay. And then I remember going to the library and getting some books. Like I think I read, what's it called? Mormon Enigma. Oh. That was a great one. Yeah. Insider's View of Mormon Origins. I think that was another one. And his name is he was still alive when I was going through all that, the author of that book, Grant Palmer. Oh, yeah. And I just started reading. I read, consumed, and then became obsessed. Okay. So I spent a lot of time on that website that I was telling you, New Mormon, and just trying to, you just want to be validated. Yes. And you're hearing people say, I know what you're going through. Yeah.
And obsessed is the right word. I mean, for what I experienced too. Yeah, like,
I couldn't get enough.
I could not get enough. It was as if I had another part-time job. On top of my regular life, I was probably spending at least 20 hours a week reading, researching, listening to podcasts. I mean, and by the time I went through it 3 years ago, there was all the things. So there probably wasn't hardly any podcasts when you were...
The big one had started. Like there were maybe 100 episodes on that.
Oh, okay.
With Mormon stories. I want to say maybe it wasn't quite, I can't remember, but it was very in its beginning.
Yeah, and it was totally different in the beginning.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
not,
He was still searching and trying to figure things out. So
yeah.
yeah, that was it. That was
Interesting.
my lifeline at the time. You
Yeah.
know, just feeling like you are the emperor's new clothes. Like, you're like,
Oh my gosh.
can no one see this? Like, am I the crazy one? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so super hard, super.
So I can totally see how your journey brought you to want to do life coaching. I mean, it seems like a really kind of logical step. I mean, I've even felt the same way, like, okay, well, now I want to help people, you know?
Yeah,
now
yeah.
now I want to find, what can I do to help this community, to help people who are going through the same thing. And so tell me about that. You started your YouTube channel first, and you start like talking to people and such. And you've had multiple different careers and businesses and stuff. So was it just kind of like a transition period, and you were like, I'm ready to do something new?
Well, it's what I always wanted to do. I even hired this one life coach. I mean, like post faith crisis. And once I got my feet under me, I think you need to have your feet under you, because it's so disabling. Is that the right word? You feel so unstable.
Unstable.
Like you can't get your bearings, you know, for a while. So
Yeah.
once I was able to do that, which for me was quite a while.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to find out who I was. If my whole, I refer to it as my Etch-a-Sketch. My whole Etch-a-Sketch was now clear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I want to keep? What makes sense? What do I think's right or wrong? So I spent that 6 years just flailing around and figuring it out. And then 2012, I started the YouTube channel, and I had full plans to start life coaching back then, but I hired a lady. I was her apprentice. I paid her so much money, and it just didn't click with me at the time. I didn't feel like I had tools to actually help people. So then I was kind of distracted by, I've always, what I did before, I should say during all this time, I had a business called Tiny Touches, and it was a ceramic hand and foot impression business, which I loved. I loved that. I did that from 2000 to 2012.
Oh, okay.
And I sold that business when I was going to go into life coaching. And then I got distracted again by another business I started, which was Soul Candy, which I made little inspirational ceramic pocket stones. So I've always had my hands in play for a really long time.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't ignore it anymore. I'm like, no, this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
I need to be helping people. And I know there's kind of like, I hear some scuttlebutt in the community about profiting off of people's pain and all of this stuff.
Oh, geez.
But who better? I know it backwards and forwards. I know your journey. I mean, we all have our differences, but whatever. Those people can just not come to me. That's fine. It
Right.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, and then, so then in that time period, it's probably been about 4 years now. I went and I found a life coaching school that I loved, and I just went all in, and I've been doing that for about 4 years now, and helped and coached hundreds of people.
Yeah.
You know, just in that space. And it's funny, and you can attest to this. It's like, we're not always talking about the church.
Right. Oh,
when
yeah.
we're coaching. It's like, because the church's influence in our life has branches into every aspect of our lives.
Every freaking aspect of our lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
the deeper you go and the more work you do, the more you realize it infected every single space of your life.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so frustrating, because you're like, okay, fine, I get it. The church isn't true. But then you don't realize how connected it is to just who you believe you are, just as a human in this world.
Yep.
And what your relationship is like with your partner or your kids or your friends. You find out who were situational friends, and
100%.
you go through that whole period of like, I would have done everything differently. Like, I would have picked a different career. I would have married someone different, or not gotten married at all, or not had kids at all, or like,
yes,
or whatever. Like, you just start realizing that every decision you've made in life was to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
And I think that's so frustrating to go, oh
100%.
my gosh.
There's so many what ifs. Like, what if I hadn't been, raised in the church? Like, things would have been totally different.
Yeah. And what I love to help people with is going, okay, but that's what is. Right, like, you did do this. This is how you have arrived to be who you are. I think a big problem I see is we kind of glamorize or perfect the other road.
Totally, yes.
Yeah. If I had taken this other road, I would have been happier.
Yeah.
And the truth is,
you have no idea.
You have no idea, and you have a human brain that's unmanaged.
Okay. Yeah.
And so then we spin in the space of, well, it would have been so much better if I just never was Mormon. And what I want to help people see is, no, actually, the fact that you've literally lived through this to get to where you are now is what makes you amazing.
Yeah.
Because you have to do, this is where I geek out, so just
you're good.
Like what you've had to do in your own brain.
Yeah.
To unravel what was Mormonism to you. That's what makes you a superhero to me.
Right. Yeah.
Because not everybody has to deconstruct their whole life.
Yeah.
And not that it's easy, because we know it's
No.
super. I'm trying to hold back tears right now because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
But I think people start using it as like, life would have been better if.
Yeah. So like you get kind of stuck in like a space of regret or something.
Yeah.
I personally haven't struggled with that, but I know a lot of people who have. And maybe it's just because I really like where I'm at. So even though this whole faith crisis and everything was an absolute shit show, and I mean, incredibly painful, I also wouldn't change it. Like, right. I mean, I feel like I don't know, the pendulum swings. It's like that much pain also equals like that much happiness on the other side of it, kind of.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
So, and I had a good life too. I'm pretty lucky that I did not suffer terrible abuse from the church. You know, the church was actually good to me. It was a good space for me. I would have said I was totally happy in the church.
Yeah, me too.
And now it's funny to say that because it's only after that I realize how much pain I actually had. Like when you suddenly, like when you leave the church and you don't need antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds anymore, or your dose goes way down because you're like, I'm having way more good days. And I didn't think that I was struggling mightily in the church. I really didn't. I thought I was fine.
You can't see the connection. And I don't want to make like I like that you brought this up. Like there is trauma in the church.
Oh, 100% there is.
There is pain for sure. And you know, I help my clients through that too as well. But yeah, we all come to the table with a different experience. Yeah. For sure.
I mean, I hear other people's stories and I just cannot believe the trauma that people have been through in the church. And it's never ending. It's like there's a never ending number of stories to hear about other people's trauma. So, I mean, I don't know. I know it's not a good idea to like compare trauma, but I genuinely think like, oh, my experience was a cakewalk compared to what a lot of people have experienced. So like when I found you and I just like binged all of your episodes, at the time that I found you, I think maybe you had like, I don't know, 20 or 30 episodes or so.
Okay.
And I just like binged all of them. Are you on 100? I think you're 99.
Next week will be 100.
Are you going to do a big party?
Yeah, I'm in the process of kind of putting it all together right now.
Oh, fun.
This is so crazy. I can't believe it.
Yeah, 100. That's a big deal. So this is my number 20. So we've just barely started. But yeah, I binged them all. And then I was like, I need more. I need more. And I genuinely felt like you were just my friend, even though you didn't even know me. I was like, you're my friend. I am making you my friend.
I love it.
And and so then I just reached out to you and started doing coaching. And like you said, we're not always talking about the church. The main thing, and what I have experienced has been so different. And I don't say that therapy is not good, but my experience has been so different than when I've gone to therapy. And I felt like I kept going to, different therapists. I was never really finding the right fit. I never really felt like I got like concrete things that I could take away, that I could talk through things, and that's definitely helpful sometimes. But like when I started doing life coaching with you, I immediately felt like you gave me steps. You gave me a checklist. Maybe that's what we need. We've been in the Mormon church too long, so we need a checklist. But no, like you gave me actual actionable things that I could work on. And they were so helpful. So tell me a little bit, like tell the listeners, I know, but tell the listeners a little bit about like what that looks like, what life coaching looks like. Because for me, it really was life-changing. Like I tell everyone I know, like get a life coach. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny because when I was becoming a life coach, I was like, oh, there's so much like people make fun of life coaches. So I just owned it. Once I'm like, well, that's what I am.
Yeah. And you know what? I totally get that because I'm a realtor, and in every TV show, in every movie, the realtor is the butt of every joke. Yes. They're always the biggest idiot in the room. Like, realtors are worse than used car salesmen, and I'm just like, well, that's what I am. I guess I just have to own it. Yeah.
And you just do your thing in the way that you do it, and that's what I do. I mean, the experiences I've had with my clients, like just like with you, like, to me, that's sacred space.
Yeah.
You know, like we come out of that, using that word in such a like temple kind of way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm reclaiming some of these words. And my coaching to me is that sacred space because people share their deepest things with me, you know, and we go to those places that are hard and heavy and we sit with it. Yeah. But anyway, so damn, I forgot your question.
Just like what the work is that you do, like how you work through.
Yeah, right. Because so I just take people through. I have every week, like I have my initial is a 2-month program, so you kind of commit to that with me. And I have a tool that I teach you each week, and then I give you homework that coincides with that tool. And sometimes we slow down, sometimes we go back, you know, it just kind of depends where you are and what you need.
Yeah.
And I just kind of let that guide me like, okay, I think this would be helpful for you now.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like a series of tools, actual things you can do in your life to start managing your brain.
Yeah.
And that is the part. No one's ever taught us how to manage our brain. No one's taught us how to feel our feelings without thinking our feelings. No one's ever taught us, at least for me, I should just speak for me, but for the clients who come to me, they're like, oh my gosh, how, I didn't know this.
Totally.
So I know that the tools that I use with my clients is what I use with me, because I too am a human with a human brain that needs to manage my own thoughts and feelings as well. Some days I'm great, other days I'm like, you wouldn't think I had a tool in the world to use.
We have to still have those days.
Yeah, right. You have to. And so I just really guide my clients. I never tell you what to do. I don't tell you what to think.
Yeah.
But I can teach you how to manage your brain. So, because I believe you are the authority of your life.
Yeah.
Which is such a beautiful place to arrive. Like, I'm the authority of my life. You know how we were taught. There was a whole hierarchy of men between me and if there is a God.
Yeah.
Everyone was a man.
Yep.
And so, and we even have the term church authority, which means I'm not the authority. The church is the authority.
The church is the authority.
And so I'm all about you helping you see that you're your own authority and how to do that. That doesn't mean you're going to get it right every time. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
But when you own the good and the bad, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think you are more empowered to make better decisions, to process the pain and heartache that we experience. And like we've talked about before, it's not just from the church, but it's just in every area of our life. Like we have pain and heartache, and we will continue to because we're human.
Yeah.
And this just, my structure that I use with my clients is to kind of just give you a box of tools to choose from, so that whenever you're going through a hard time, you're like, okay, that's right. Let me collect myself.
Yes.
This is how I can help. Because I think we want other people to do it for us.
Totally.
we want like our husband to change so he's different, or our kids not to behave in a certain way so we can feel a certain way. Yeah. And when we can get to the point where no one has to change who they are for us to love them or for us to leave them.
Yeah.
We own it. It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. It doesn't matter if it's a boss at work or crazy person driving down the freeway.
Right, right.
We take responsibility.
Yeah, and that feels super empowering. I know, like, well, for me, most of my sessions with you have been about relationships. Like, my relationship with my mom, my sisters, my husband, my kids, right? And, I forgot where I was going. Oh, so one of the things, like, I've always found writing therapeutic, like just getting my thoughts out, on paper. And I remember one of the exercises you had me do, you called just like a brain dump, right? And it was just like getting everything out of my brain down, and not like making it perfect, not worrying about sentence structure or grammar or, anything, just like dumping it out, just all of it, all the things getting out. And then you had me go back and look at what I had written and underline the facts. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I was like, mind blown. Because when I actually, here's the thing, you get stuck in your brain and what you're feeling and thinking, and you think it's true. But when you actually look at your thoughts on paper with like a real curiosity of like, okay, what am I making this mean? And what am I saying? And is this actually true? It's so mind-blowing.
It's life-changing.
Like, I'm getting chills right now.
I know. I love it. Yeah.
I loved it so much. Like, that just like blew me away. How much what I was thinking was true was not necessarily true. And I think it really requires us to get super curious and to be like open-minded about changing our minds, right?
Yeah,
about things. And the fact that we've had a faith crisis tells us we know how to change our minds, right? And like, that's super empowering to be like,
totally.
I had an entire paradigm shift of my entire life, so I can change my mind about this little tiny thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I can learn new information and I can say, oh, I was wrong about something. And now I know this or whatever. You can just more easily take in new information and change your mind, right?
Yeah, and that's what I always say. It's like, you went through one of the biggest paradigm shifts that you can go through, so you can have a paradigm shift about your body, about your relationship, about your sexuality, about anything that you feel is tethering you to the Stuckville.
Yes, to the Stuckville. I love that, Stuckville. I'm in Stuckville.
Yeah. And, we've all been there, and it's just like, ugh, you get the yucks there, because it's just like, and then, like you said, like, what am I making this mean about me? Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. Now I'm a failure, or I don't know how to move forward, or I'm not worthy, or I'm never going to figure this out. And it's like, no, I just need you to slow your brain down for a minute. I need you to reevaluate those thoughts, because that's what's keeping you stuck. It's not a person. It's not something outside of you. It is something inside of you. And I think slowing down is the hardest piece for most of us right now, because we live in a world where everything's fast paced. If we're bored with a TikTok, in 2 seconds we scroll on. Like, our attention span is shrinking.
So short.
So to be able to like slow your brain down and just go, okay, this is my life. I'm the boss. I am the authority of my life. What do I want?
Yeah. Which is really empowering, but also really scary.
It is scary.
Right? Because you can't blame anybody else.
It is so much easier to stay in blame. And you had mentioned like seeing your thoughts and seeing what's true or not. This is where I want all the people who are constantly like, my family's so much drama. My family is toxic. No, come sit by me and we're going to reframe this. Because when drama is really just your thoughts on the loose.
Okay.
Like what someone else is doing, and you're most likely probably not willing to put up a boundary. And so that drama just keeps replaying. Yes. And like you said, then we just blame the other people.
Totally.
And then toxic is like, I know there are some terrible situations people find themselves in, but when we can reframe how we speak about it and how we think about it, we can then, like that slowing down that I'm talking about, then we can see not our role in it necessarily, but like, okay, that can all continue on, but I'm going to remove myself, or I'm going to make the changes I need, not worrying about changing the other people. And I'm not talking about like extreme abuse and things like that, but just like, I think we quickly use the words toxic and drama. It's just become a thing. And then that is the blame.
Yes.
And it just keeps going round and round.
Because you can like label it. You're labeling it so that you can not, I don't know, take ownership of your part in it. Is that what, or am I not getting that right?
Well, I mean, we all have a part in anything, but it's like I said earlier, like the boundary, like, okay, if you're tired of the drama, quote unquote, then you can do something about it. But that's the part we don't like, because the confrontation part. And if someone gets mad, it's okay if they're mad.
Yeah.
Like, we're so afraid. And that too, see, this is how it's all tied, because that's tied to our conditioning. That contention or anger or frustration or any feeling that's negative is from the devil, right?
Totally.
Or something we're not supposed to feel, not supposed to be angry. It's like, no, we can feel all of that. That's okay. I think those are actually signs of something else, like what's underneath all that.
Yeah, like listen to yourself instead of pushing it aside and saying, I shouldn't be angry, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I, you know, don't want this, so I'm going to ignore it. Instead of that, like, listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a podcast. I think I called it The Emotional Time Capsule.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's like my favorite episode.
Yeah, because what happens is we're so used to pushing our emotions away and letting them, you know, brushing them under the rug, or like I say, putting them in an emotional time capsule that you're going to open at some point, because they don't go anywhere.
They're just going to sit there and wait for you.
Totally. And something's going to come along and pull them all out. And this is the problem. We bring all those emotions to the party, whether we're having a pity party, or whether we're angry, or whether we're in a relationship we don't want to be in, or whatever. Then we unearth that emotional time capsule and we go, well, here it all is, instead of sitting with and processing as it's happening in your life.
Yeah. And it can look totally different depending on how long you've been bottling everything up and putting it in that time capsule.
Yeah.
And it can come out in really unhealthy ways, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's the truth of the matter, is we think, oh, I don't want to feel that. It feels yucky. And really pushing emotions down like that can have unhealthy consequences, whether it's like blood pressure or, you know, hypertension or whatever. We're just holding on to it, in that, because we're afraid to feel. We're afraid to feel that.
Yeah.
And you remember me saying, like, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to feel a feeling you don't like. Really, for the most part, that's it. So are you willing to feel that? Right? That's the going through it, not skipping over it.
Right. And our brains just want to protect us from feeling like it's almost like you build it up in your mind like it's way worse than it actually is. Totally. So if you'll just sit, I remember one of the sessions I had with you, and I don't even remember what we were talking about or anything, but I was having some really intense feelings, like where you like physically feel it like coming up your throat almost, you know?
Yeah.
And you just helped me sit with it and just feel it, and also like name it and describe it. And that was so profound for me, because I was just like, wow, this. And I remember thinking, this feels terrible. I do not, like, I really wanted to just push it back down. You just have this, I don't know, we're just like trained to do that. Just like push it down, and don't cry, and don't say anything about it. Because if you start talking about it, then it's really going to bubble up, right? Yeah. And then you just helped me feel like it was okay.
Yeah.
And I could just sit with it and actually just feel it. And you know what? It wasn't that bad. And honestly, I felt like a release of it. Like it left me. It physically left me instead of staying in the pit of my stomach. And it was, I like I said, I don't even remember what specific thing we were talking about, but I remember feeling incredible shame. Like this heavy, gross shame about whatever it was. And when I was able to sit in it, it was able to just leave. Like I went through it.
Yeah. That's the thing. We build it up in our heads. I always compare it to like doing taxes. Like we just kick and scream. No,
I don't want to do them.
And then you do it and you're like, oh, wow. Okay. That didn't take nearly as long as I thought.
Yeah.
I think it's similar with feelings. Like we build it up like, sometimes it's like, I don't know if I won't, what if I can't stop crying?
Yeah.
What if I do feel like I'm choking because it's that lump in your throat?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, let's just be with it, because the truth of the matter is that's what your body is trying to scream at you.
Mm.
Feel me, feel my body, tap into my body. But because we go up into our head,
mm-hmm.
that's where all the judgments are.
Totally.
We think we shouldn't be feeling all the things that we're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I should be over this by now. I should be able to move on. I should be able to get it together.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those thoughts are judgments.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird how your brain really is like danger, feelings, like run, hide, and they're not as bad as we make them out to be.
Yeah. Yeah, how can we be a friend to ourselves?
Oh,
Yeah, we're hurting. It
yeah.
sucks to feel shame. I felt that a lot. I did a whole podcast on
Yep.
how hard shame is, and it can eat you alive.
Totally.
But you have to sit with it. Sit
Yeah.
with the shame. Have a conversation. Be with it. Like I look at it like all our emotions are our friends. And we wouldn't talk to our friends. If we had a friend who's struggling or crying or heartbroken, we wouldn't just be like, get over it. What's your problem?
Yeah.
It's not what we do.
Yeah.
So,
what is that movie about that with all the little emotion people?
Oh, yeah. What is that? Oh. I've seen that, and they're different colors that match the emotion.
Oh, that's going to bug me, but that's totally what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
Because there's the little blue girl.
Yes. The tears squirting out of her
Yes.
eyes. Yes.
And then the happy person is just like, oh, shut up, stop talking, get away. She just does not want anything to do with her. She wants her to stay silent and go hide away. And then, and then you've got the angry guy that's like, they're always trying to control him. And I need to go back and watch that movie. Why can't I think of what it's called?
It's a good one.
It's such a good one. But that's another thing that is totally tied to what we learned in the church, because we're supposed to please other people. We're supposed to care about other people's feelings. We're supposed to control our own, and we're supposed to not trust ourselves. We totally learn to not trust ourselves. We're just supposed to be obedient, even if we don't understand. We're supposed to, listen and do what they say, regardless of, we don't know why. Half the things we're just like, why are we doing this? But we've just been so conditioned to not listen to our own authority. And that's been such a huge piece of the work that I've done with you, is helping me to listen to myself and trust myself.
Yeah. Because we're just supposed to bow our head and say yes.
Yes. Oh.
That's not healthy.
Yeah.
In any relationship.
No.
Yeah.
I always think of that scene in the temple movie when Adam and Eve are kicked out of the garden, and Adam is preparing a sacrifice or something, and the Peter, James, and John come and say, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm just doing what I've been told. I have no idea why. I mean, that's not the words he uses, but essentially that's what he's saying, right? I don't know why, but this is what they told me to do, so I'm doing it. And that's what they're teaching us to do. Do it, even if you don't understand it or you don't know why. And there's literally no point to any of this shit. But just do it because we said. And you really do subvert your own authority for theirs. And especially as women, we do this.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, I'm going to mention my Wildflower Weekend since you were part of it. This year, the theme is trusting yourself, because...
Oh, I love that.
After, coaching so many women, I see, and men, actually, men too, it's that inability to trust ourselves because we think we're going to do it wrong, which is for surely tied to black and white thinking, which is, I have coined, not coined the CTR, but I did a podcast on CTR versus CTW. Choose the right versus choose the wrong. It's only one or the other.
Totally.
Right?
Yep.
So, so this year we're going to have the theme being learning how to trust yourself.
Trust yourself.
We don't put enough, I don't know, we don't give ourselves enough credit for all the things we've been through and to make decisions for ourselves. So
100%. And here I am at 46, just learning to trust my own damn self instead of always subverting to someone else. Always a man too. Like that fucks with your brain. It really does in a lot of ways. So I love, because I want our listeners to know, do you have any more spaces in your Wildflower Weekend? Or is it all filled up?
I do. Yeah, I've only been talking about it for a couple weeks.
So last year, you did your first Wildflower Weekend in 2021, right? And I attended, and it was a weekend over General Conference. Are you doing it over General Conference again this year? Okay. Over General Conference, you guys, this is the best thing ever, okay? You get to just spend some really beautiful time with a bunch of beautiful people. It is, it just filled me up in so many ways.
Yes.
And just like a little side effect was the fact that I completely forgot about General Conference the whole time.
Always a good thing.
It didn't even cross my mind, and I didn't have to listen to one damn word, right?
Yeah.
And that made me so happy. So I highly recommend Wildflower Weekend. Tell everybody where to go and how to find information about it.
Yeah, so Wildflower Weekend this year, so I added a day because everyone's like, let's just go on and on. So it's going to be 3 days this year. So September 30th through October 2nd, downtown Salt Lake City. Okay. I've rented the presidential suite at the Sheraton. So you guys will all just be coming to my place for each day. And then we're going to have a 70s night out where I just ordered my 70s clothes.
Yeah.
I'm a 70s baby, so I'm like, let's just do a 70s
that's so fun.
So, it's going to be lots of fun. And just, part of the best is just being together with other people who really understand what you've been through. And, whatever you need coaching on is what we'll talk about. It might be about the church. It might not. It's not necessarily all about the church, even though we have that commonality amongst us all. But it's just healing together. To go back to your question, I am all about healing, right? Like, it is easy to stay stuck in all the things because the church gives us never-ending content to talk about and bitch about and moan about.
Yep.
But at some point, you have to take ownership of it and think, okay, how do I want to move on? And that doesn't mean you don't keep your toe. Like, I still pay attention. I still talk about things. And I still get angry at times. Like, what the fuck? This is incredible that this church had such a grip on us.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah.
But there comes a point in time, I think, where you have to decide you're going to set some of that stuff down. Because it can keep you in that festered place where you haven't done the healing work. And so that's what I'm all about. And that's kind of going back to, like, what my mission is to keep you, or to help you get to that place where you can heal, because you might not see all the intersections of what this has done to our brains and how it has kind of fucked with our heads in so many ways. And so the life coaching to me is, like I said, it's so sacred, and it's helping you see your blind spots. Because you know how sometimes you're like, I didn't even see that. Like in some of our sessions, like I didn't even see that that's connected to something that I was taught as in primary. Like we just don't always make the connections, and I'm able to show you that. But it's really about healing, and I think that's what my goal's been all along, since kind of talking about the authority in the church and men in charge. Like I said, when I started, I didn't see women. And I feel so strongly that as women who've grown up in a patriarchal system, I mean, men and women have both grown up in a patriarchal system, and I also work and help men through
because it hurts men too. That patriarchy absolutely hurts men.
It hurts us in different ways,
right?
And so healing needs to be done all the way around. But that is just so important to me, to help people, and to, I thought, well, I can be a voice. Now there's many women in the in the Exmo community, which is a good thing. More voices, the better. The more of us kind of singing the same song and seeing how much healing needs to happen. It's really, this work's super important to me.
It really is. It's so important to me now too. I am a believer 100% in just the good that comes from it. It's helped me so much to manage my mind, to really just take control of things instead of feeling like a victim of the circumstance or of, you know, a lot of my stuff has been relationships, you know that. And a lot of times I would just feel like I'm a victim, you know, of this certain relationship, that I hate how it's going and I hate how this person's treating me and I don't know how to stand up for myself, or I don't know how to stop people pleasing. And these are all things that you've helped me with to just like get my mind straight about it, and it's been so huge and so healing. So I love it.
Glad. I was gonna say, like the church taught us to speak up for truth and righteousness.
Oh my gosh, yes, but not when you actually know any
not
truth.
When you actually start finding the truth and you want to share it. So I think that's why so many of us do feel so passionately about helping people, because we've been taught that.
It's ingrained in us.
Side.
Every member a missionary.
Right, yeah. So I have a dog named Truman. I need to let him out. Is that okay if I just open the door? Hold on.
Of course. She has the cutest puppy.
He's sitting there whining at me. I'm like, okay, fine, go out.
He's getting big. I
so
saw him
big.
Behind you.
He's so funny.
Tell us about your puppy.
He's named Truman. So when I saw the Truman Show, and I can't remember when it came out, but for all these years, I'm like, I'm going to name my dog Truman.
It's so perfect.
It's so perfect, and that movie had such an impact on me when I woke up. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were just like Truman. And so we have this little golden retriever who's 8 months old, and he's just the best, sweetest dog you'll ever meet. And so he's kind of my, you know, he just means a lot to me, and we finally got him. So
I love that so much. So much. So if people want to sign up for Wildflower Weekend, they can go to your website.
Yeah. So my website's amyloganlife.com.
Okay.
Or if you type in Exmormonology is the name of my podcast, all roads lead to amyloganlife.com.
Okay.
So, and there I have all the information, and you can pay right there, you know, through the website. Or I've even offered, I just put out a podcast last week where if you want to sit down and talk with me about it, because it does cost money. It's an investment. I totally get that. Yeah. And if you want to talk to me personally, I've got a link on my website where you can sign up for a mini session and ask me all the questions. And this goes for life coaching, and if you want to come to the Wildflower Weekend. Okay. Then you can talk to me one-on-one and ask me whatever you want to know about all the things. And and
you can sign up for life coaching there. I've also done, and I don't know if you're going to be doing any more group coaching, but I've done one-on-one coaching quite a bit. And then I did the Wildflower Weekend, and I also did a group coaching session with you that was fantastic. And we just, it was over Zoom with a bunch of women. And that was so great too. I don't know if you're going to maybe offer another one of those in the future.
Yeah, I plan on doing that once a year. So that one's called Feminism After Religion. Yes. Because I think we all become this, well, I'm going to say we all do. We probably don't all. If this speaks to you, we become feminists. We start to see how patriarchy has kept us down and our voices muted. Yes. And no more muting ourselves. No, we are taking off that, and we are learning why patriarchy has kept us down. And I am a strong believer in intersectional feminism, which means seeing how systemic racism, how all the systems intersect between women of color, people of color, and of course any kind of we talked about so many things, and now I'm drawing a blank.
Oh my gosh,
but just like ableism, and of course racism and sexism and all the isms,
ageism,
how they all intersect, and why especially as white women we think a certain way, and how we need to deconstruct that as well.
Totally.
And so that's a course I do once a year. The group you were in was the first, and I'll probably do that in February. Open that up in February. I think we did it in the springtime, but I'll do it earlier this year. But my work's just about helping you see the deep neural pathways in your brain and how we can make new neural pathways, which is hard.
It takes work
to change. It does take work. So a lot of my clients are like, I'm exhausted. It's like, because now your brain's working in different ways that it wasn't before. It's like why you feel so tired through a faith crisis.
Yeah.
Because you are literally making new connections in your brain, and you have to rethink everything.
Right.
It's not just, I'm not going to church on Sunday. Like, if it was only that easy.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And the new, like, learning new ways to think, new patterns, it totally takes practice. Like, I can, you can teach me something and I'll be like, oh my gosh, it clicks. I totally get it, yada, yada. And then, the next day I'll just be like totally doing the same thing I've done for a million years, thinking, in the wrong way again. And I'd be like, duh, I'm so stupid. Like, what? Amy told me this, I need to stop myself and think. But it takes practice because your brain is just so used to going down that same pathway it's always gone on. And our brains like love to tell stories or like solve problems. So when a situation arises, your brain just like fixes or solves the problem of like what's happening and tells you a story. And unless you know to stop and ask questions and say, is that true though? Like, is the story I'm telling myself what's actually happening here? Unless you know to do that and you practice it, you'll just keep going down that pathway every single time.
Totally. And in order to do that, you have to slow down. I just did this morning. This is kind of funny. I don't even know why I did it.
Okay.
I thought I'm going to try brushing my teeth with my left hand.
Oh, interesting.
Because I'm right-handed, and for some reason I'm usually trying to do 10 things at once. I was probably moving something on the, the bathroom counter, and I'm just like, oh, this feels so strange to me to try to brush my teeth with my left hand. And I think, you could learn how to do that, right? But it's going to take you're going to be frustrated at first.
Yeah.
Because you're not used to doing it, and you're not used to the fast way that you brush your teeth. Yeah. It's the same way with your thoughts. Like, in order to think a new thought, you have to slow down.
Yeah.
To start to internalize, like, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
What am I going to stop believing about myself?
Yeah.
That's so readily available that when it comes into my brain, I have to think, remember, Amy, you don't think that way anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
It's training.
It's hard to make that. So that practice piece is so important.
Yeah.
To really go, okay, no, this is just like starting a yoga practice or starting whatever kind of new thing you're going to do in your life that you've never done before. You have to kind of be willing to suck at it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just think, okay, I'm not good at this yet, but that's okay. It's new. Why would I be good at this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest things, and I did a whole episode on this, I talked about you through the whole episode, was the body image stuff. I don't have this perfect by any means, but I can tell you that I have like turned an actual corner of like,
nice.
There is an actual shift that happened when I kept practicing these tools. I had a notification on my phone. It was like my lock screen, and it had a little thing that says, I can love my body or whatever. And I had notes on my mirror, and I had little things that reminded me, and I can't believe that like it worked. It's not perfect, but it's so much better than it was. Yeah. And like, I still have thoughts, and I catch myself, and I slow down, and I ask questions, and I go inward and say, like, what do I actually want to feel about this? So, man, the work is so powerful. I cannot tell you, like, from the time I was even aware of my body, I hated it.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't matter what size it was. It's all in your head. It's in your freaking head, because, there's that, the fact that I can look at a picture of myself, 50 pounds ago and say, wow, I wish I looked like that. But then remember that when I looked like that, I was not happy with the way I looked.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, that's proof right there that it really is just in your head. It's not.
It's really your thoughts. Yeah. And think about like anything in your life, any relationship, whether it's with your body or with a friend or a partner, is literally your thoughts about that person or yourself.
That's what the relationship is.
The relationship is the thoughts. Yeah. Because like, think how many people have gotten married or have been in a significant other relationship, and they've been with that person for a long time, and all of a sudden that person's annoying. That person hasn't for the most part, probably changed who they are. Your thoughts about the thing that maybe you thought was so adorable at first now drives you crazy.
Yes.
It's literally your thoughts about the thing. It's not the person. They're just being who they are.
Yeah.
You've got the work to do.
It used to be so adorable.
And now I want to wring your neck.
Oh,
And
that's
so
so
that's
true.
that's how aware I want people to be. Do you remember in our group, in our Feminism After Religion, I think I shared the image of that little baby looking at her feet?
Oh, yes.
And she was like, she had just found her feet.
Yes.
And she's probably 6 months, 7 months, I don't know.
Yeah.
And she's just looking at these feet like, this is amazing. That curiosity, like she'd wiggle her toes and she'd just keep looking at it, like realizing these are attached to whatever this thing is that I am. You know,
Yes.
I don't know what a 7-month-old thinks about themselves. Probably
Yeah.
nothing, but they're just finding their feet. And I think that curiosity that the baby had with their feet is how you need to examine your brain. You need to have that much curiosity that you're looking at the habitual thoughts that you think with just like, wow, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Why do I think that? How long have I been thinking that? Why do I want to keep it? Maybe I like that thought. Maybe I don't like that thought. Because then at that point you can decide.
Yeah. Instead of just accepting it as a fact or as an absolute truth, you can stop and decide how you feel about it. And is it true or does it feel good? Right?
And that's so much more empowering than just beating yourself up because you think all these thoughts. And that you haven't examined enough to know that those are optional. All thoughts, everything that goes across your brain is optional.
Woo! I love that so much. Yeah.
Yeah, I geek out. You know how I am.
Me too.
I just love it so much.
Yeah, me too. And I could probably talk to you for hours and hours and we would never run out of stuff to talk about.
I know, that's so true.
I love that you are my friend.
Oh, you are my friend.
Oh my gosh. I needed you at the time when I needed you. You just like showed up in my life and I'm so grateful for it. And if anybody has not discovered Amy yet, I hope that you will. Go find her. Go search her out. Go listen to her podcast.
Yeah, don't be turned off by the term life coach. I see a lot of people like, oh, I need therapy. Yes, do therapy. I have actually, some of my clients do both at the same time.
Yeah.
But the feedback I hear is kind of like what you're saying. Like, no, but you gave me actual things I can do.
Yeah.
To practice how to do this. It wasn't, I mean, it is kind of a talk therapy situation. I'm not a therapist by any means. I just need to make that clear.
Yes.
But life coaching can be a beautiful experience and can change your life.
Totally. 100%. And that's how it's been for me. There's so much empowerment in recognizing your thought patterns and like feeling empowered by the idea that you can change your thoughts and that you get to decide. And there's just, there's just so much. And even like, I haven't done one-on-one coaching with you for a little bit, but I've been thinking multiple times this summer, I'm like, I need to jump back on and we need to schedule some sessions. So after we're done recording, we need to schedule, because there's constantly new things that come up that I'm like, okay, I need to work through that. I need to talk to Amy about this. I think that all the time. I need to talk to Amy about this.
What would Amy think?
What would Amy do? That's yeah. Instead of what would Jesus do, what would Amy do?
That's so funny.
It's so great. I just love you to the moon and back. So thank you so much for coming here today.
I love you so much. Like, you have no idea. Like, my clients become my friends. I love it.
Great.
You're one of them.
Oh, thank you so much. I love it, love it, love it. And is there anything else that you wanted to share that you didn't get to, or any parting thoughts?
So much. Like you said, like I said, I could go on forever, but really it's like just deciding, right? Making a decision and trusting yourself.
Trusting yourself.
It will always come down to that trusting yourself. I think the problem, here I go, I'm going
You're good. No.
The problem is we think that in order to trust ourselves, that means we have to do it right. And I think that's a big hang up for so many people.
Yes.
Which is tied to perfectionism as well, by the way.
Totally.
we have to do it perfectly. We can't trust ourselves if we mess up, but no, we're human. We get to mess up.
Well, yeah. And what if there's not a right way or a wrong way to do it? Like, that idea alone kind of blows your mind, because it's so ingrained in us that there's a right way and a wrong way.
Yeah. And that trips us up for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. So what if there's not?
Yeah.
And what if whatever way you do it is going to be just fine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, the trusting yourself piece.
Yeah, but I think we solved all the world's problems.
I think we did.
We did? Okay, good.
Everything's fixed now. We're good. We can all go home.
That's right. We got it all down.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay.
Anytime.
Oh, you're so wonderful. Okay, take care. Okay. I will see you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.